Heyo, I'm Lloyd Ruhl, aka MegaBlitzz. In today's video, we're going to be catching up on some PokeBeach news. Now, I haven't done this probably in like 2 to 3 months, so we have quite a bit of catch up on. Now, I know the video's not going to be an hour long, and we're not going to be catching up on 3 months worth of stuff, because a lot of that stuff has already happened, so we're just going to kind of catch up on some of the more recent things, and I kind of want to get back into making some of these PokeBeach videos and just kind of going over some, like, newer sets and some spoilers and things like that, as we really haven't had a chance to look at a lot of them just here on the channel, and even myself personally. So just gonna kind of scroll through, and we're just gonna start with the most recent stuff and then go back a little bit until it's kind of just like, I guess, older news. So we'll start off with some of the newer stuff here. We got new Charmander and Pikachu Ultra Pro accessories in 2025, which is pretty cool. Got the Kanto stuff. Got like Kanto 004, which is like their Pokedex number. I think is pretty cool. We got Pikachu, of course, because you always got to have Pikachu, but they better put the 0025 on there for some of this stuff. It looks like they don't, so it's just the binder, a deck box. Okay, so it looks like Charmander got a little more love than Pikachu in this, but still some pretty cool stuff. Kind of interesting how they chose to do the Pokedex thing here, but then down here, it's just Pikachu's face. I'm not too sure why they just didn't keep it kind of the same, but that's neither here nor there. Kind of going forward, MegaBlitzz from Battle Partners, which I think is a new set that's going to be coming out. It's going to be in the Journey Together set, which is going to be releasing in March. So the MegaBlitzz, not super great, unfortunately. Just has that rack down attack for 1 psychic 60 damage, and then it's got Joint Beam for double psychic 130 plus damage. If Beldum and Metang are on your bench, this attack does 150 more damage. So you're hitting for that 280 sweet spot, which is really nice because you're able to knock out, you know, a lot of EXs, a lot of basic ones, a lot of the V-stars and stuff in the format. But at that time, this card's only going to be in the format for like a month until the V-stars and stuff rotate. And even then, you have to have both Beldum and Metang on your bench. But the cool thing is, though, is that it doesn't specify what Beldum or Metang. So you could play like a Psychic Metal deck where you kind of are playing the Metang that lets you look at the top 4, the Metal Maker one, and kind of put some energies on things, which I think would be pretty cool. So not a super bad card by any means, but definitely a very interesting card. But still not too bad. All right, we got some Prismatic evolutions here. This was the video, which we're not gonna watch, but I think I had watched a sneak peek of it while I was at work and on break. So definitely pretty cool. We got the Dunsparce EX from Battle Partners as well. The Dunsparce EX has an attack adversity tail 60 times instead of 60 damage for each of your opponent's Pokemon EX. So that's kind of cool. Definitely can hit pretty hard depending on what deck you're playing against. And having that fighting weakness is pretty helpful because fighting is not really a kind of used archetype right now. We have Drill Break, 150 damage. This attack's damage isn't affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon, so does get through some key things like Mimikyu and stuff like that, which can be pretty cool as well. Being able to kind of just push through things like how Ogerpon EX, Cornerstone Master Ogerpon EX works, kind of something very similar. Prismatic evolutions demand higher than supply allocations, severely cut in the local stores. I did hear about this actually, because the set is going to be super popular with the fact that it's got the evolutions and stuff in it again. I did hear that this set is going to cause a lot of kind of mayhem with that stuff, but we'll have to see what happens. This Banette I did see on Twitter yesterday, and I thought this card was really, really cool. It has an attack, Cursed Speech, which says your opponent shuffles 3 cards from their hand into their deck. Now, you pair this with Xerosix Machinations, which says your opponent discards cards from their hand until they have 3 cards left. So you discard cards from your hand until you have 3 cards left in your hand, and then you just follow that up with Cursed Speech, and your opponent's literally just top decking, and Babero rotates, and you didn't take a knockout, so Pheasantipity does nothing. Cursed Speech doesn't do any damage. So you play a kind of like control type style where you go, okay, pull up your, pull up something you don't want to retreat out of, whatever it might be. I don't know, Manaphy or something like that. and then you go, okay, I'm gonna Zoroark's Machinations, discard cards until you have 3 left, and then Curse Beach, shuffle those 3 back in your deck. You are now literally top decking, and then you kind of follow that up with a lot of more disruption cards, things like Misfortune Sisters, Accompanying Flute, and kind of go like the control stall type package, which I'm pretty excited about because I've been playing a lot of Snorlax stall, and stall rotates, unfortunately. So I have to see what goes on with that, which I thought was pretty cool. And then just a couple other cool things. Iron Thorns and Dragapult EX poses major challenges to the top decks. The deck is pretty cool, and I think it is pretty good. If you guys haven't yet, I put out a video just this past Wednesday on Iron Thorns Dragapult EX and just how good I think the deck really is, and how like underrated it also really is. I feel like the deck's kind of underrated a lot. A lot of people would rather just play like Dragapult in the Regidrogo deck or Dragapult Dusknoir even. But Dragapult Iron Thorns is definitely something to consider. It's got a lot of disruption, a lot of control elements on top of the damage counter spreading and the counter manipulation and stuff. So definitely something to consider with that. And then we got Alolan Exeggutor EX. This card's insane in Regidrogo. If you're not playing it in Regidrogo, I don't know what you're doing. The card's literally bonkers. Kind of going through here, we have some more of the Prismatic Evolution cards that were revealed. And they're bringing back the Master Ball and Pokeball thing, which I think is really cool. Kind of our own version of it, which I think is pretty nice as well. A lot of these cards, I think, will do... I think a lot of these cards won't get played, but I think some of the EXs have a chance. So we'll kind of scroll down here so we can get to the list of some stuff. This Badoo especially is going to get played, I promise. Everybody knows about the Badoo, so this is kind of older news a little bit, but it's got the Itchy Pollen attack, 10 damage. During your opponent's next turn, they can't play any item cards from their hand. So imagine just going second, you're playing against your Charizard opponent, and you go, okay, 10 damage, you can't play Rare Candy. Figure it out. And it kind of, like, not only can it item lock people out of the game, but also, it gives you a turn. Right? It gives you a turn against these big Rare Candy decks, things like Charizard, things like some of the Dragapult lists as well. It kind of gives you a turn to be able to set up a little bit, get that supporter, discard some cards, kind of establish a board state, which can be pretty important, especially in the format I think we're heading into. Got Leafeon EX here. It's got the Terra ability, of course, as well. It's got the Leaf Typhoon attack 60 times. This attack does 60 damage for each energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon. So, kind of interesting. Not attached to all of your Pokemon, because if that was the case, then you would just play Ogerpon, Teal Mask Ogerpon EX, and you would just Teal Dance a bunch, and then play things like Crispin, and then just throw a bunch of energies into play, and now you're smacking for whatever it is, 500 damage or something. So, it makes sense that it's your opponent's Pokemon. But still can be pretty good, because if your opponent's playing things like Regidrogo V-Star, or if they're playing, Raging Bolt, they're going to have energy in play, which is pretty important. So, even Lugia is another one that comes to my mind. But we also have the Moss Agate attack here. 230 damage, heal 100 damage from each of your bench Pokemon. So, pretty cool. Not too bad of an attack there. We got, and I think this is just cards you can pair it with, maybe. Because we already own a lot of these cards. So we have Flareon EX here. It's got the Terra ability as well. Burning Charge, 130 damage. Search deck for up to 2 basic energy cards and attach them to one of your Pokemon. And then it's got the Carnelian. I don't even know how to pronounce that. But that is for a fire, a water, and a lightning energy. Was Leafeon have multiple energies for their attack? Oh yeah, grass, fire, and water. Okay, so that's kind of unfortunate. So that attack actually sucks. But 280 damage during your next turn, this Pokemon can't attack, so not great. And the first one's also not kind of great. Unfortunately, I don't think Flareon will get played, which is kind of a bummer. I like Flareon a lot. I think Flareon's probably up there in my top 3, maybe top 4 of the evolutions. Different things you can pair it with and stuff here. We got Vaporeon EX with the Heavy Squall attack. This attack does 6 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon EX. Don't apply weakness or resistance to this damage. So, okay, 60 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon EX. Not super great. And then you got Aquamarine for a fire, a water, and a lightning. 280 damage. This Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. It feels kind of lazy that they're actually just basically copying the same attack from Flareon, but like Leafeon gets a special attack for some reason, which is kind of interesting, but I don't know. So, not great. Glaceon EX. We got the Frost Bullet, 110 damage. This attack does 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So, pretty decent of an attack, 110 to the active, 30 to one of your opponent's special Pokemon. You knock out things like Cleffa or things like a Badoo or whatever, which is pretty cool. And then you got E-Class. U-Class? I don't even know. Grass, Water, and Dark Energy. Knock out one of your opponent's Pokemon that has exactly 6 damage counters on it. You would think it would be the best thing to just Frostbolt it twice, but actually it's probably just better to just use Dragapult attack and then just follow that up with like Boss plus Knockout or something. But either way, still not bad. I think it's crazy that Glaceon gets a special attack too, and it's kind of like okay. A lot of these cards don't seem very great. This Pikachu EX, don't play it, it's bad. Jolteon EX here, we got Flash Spear, 60 plus. You may discard up to 2 basic energy from your benched Pokemon. This attack does 9 damage for each card discarded this way. So it's from your benched Pokemon only, and it can only be 2 basic energy. So realistically, you're only hitting 180 plus 60. So you're only really hitting 250, which is not great. But once again, we have that really crappy attack. 280, you can't attack during your next turn, which is kind of interesting. So, is what it is. And then we got Espeon EX. We got Psych Out, 160 damage. Discard a random card from your opponent's hand. Okay. De-Evolve from the Amethyst attack. De-Evolve each of your opponent's evolved Pokemon by shuffling the highest stage evolution into their opponent's deck. So not too bad. As opposed to the Technical Machine De-Evolution, where you can only use 1 time and it goes into their hand, which I still feel like is better because it's only going to cost 1 energy, as opposed to this, where you have to commit a Grass, a Psychic, and a Dark Energy to it, which can be kind of a pain. Scrolling down through here, we've already looked at the Sylveon EX. It's already actually out with that Angelite attack and stuff. So we'll keep scrolling down. I think these are some of the cards we already have. Okay, sorry, we don't have the Umbreon EX here. We got the Moon Mirage, 160 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. Not super great. And then Onyx, discard all energy from this Pokemon and draw a prize card. Now, this card might actually see play. The problem with this card, however, is it's an attack, and you're only taking 1 prize card. So you're going, okay, discard all 3 energy, take 1 prize, where you could just go Roaring Moon, instant knockout something, take 2 prize cards. So I don't know. I think it could get played. It might just be like a one-off in a couple things. We'll have to see. Unfortunately, this Tyranitar is awful. I was hoping it'd be good, but 50 times this attack does 50 damage for each energy attached to this Pokemon, which isn't great. Then you have Tyrant Crash, 150 damage. Your opponent reveals their hand, discard a card you find there. So get a little bit of the shred ability, a little bit of the high hitter kind of thing. Not too bad. Scrolling down here, we got some more. We got the Eevee EX with the Rainbow DNA. You can play Pokemon EX that evolve from Eevee onto this Pokemon to evolve it. So basically, you can go, okay, you can't evolve this Pokemon during your first turn of the turn you play it. So essentially, this would be what you would evolve the Sylveon EX and stuff like that into, which is kind of interesting, but I guess it kind of makes sense. It has an attack for 200 damage, which isn't bad, but it's a 2-prize Pokemon on 200 HP thing that has an okay attack with weird energy requirements and a kind of odd-ish ability, but neither here nor there. The Snorlax, not super great. We got Lugia. I was really hoping this card would be good, but it's unfortunate. But Lugia can't be good forever. Am I right? So, Noivern EX, also a card that's not super great. 50 damage, especially on one of your, this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon, 220. Does 32 itself. Not super bad. We got some of the cool trainers, though. I do want to go over these. We got Black Belt Practice, and they all do the same thing here, but they all have different arts, which I think is kind of interesting. During this turn, attacks used by your Pokemon do 40 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon EX. So, can kind of help with some of the awkward numbers going forward. And then we got a couple other cards, I think, down here. We got Max Rod as well. Choose up to 5 at any combination of Pokemon Basic Energy from your discard pile. Put them into your hand. Not a bad A-Spec by any means, but I don't know if it'll get played as much as I would like to. Professor's Research, got Professor Oak and a bunch of different professors. Same thing, discard your hand, draw 7. I don't think that card's ever going to go anywhere. We got Roto Stick. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal any number of support cards you find there. Put them into your hand. Shuffle the other cards back into your deck. So, not too bad. I feel like just play Pokegear 3.0, though. Is kind of where that's at. Treasure Tracker. Treasure deck for up to 5 Pokemon tool cards. Reveal them and put them into your hand. This card is probably not going to get played, unfortunately. I wish it would. I like tools, and I think tools are fun. But I just feel like the format right now is not really in a spot for tools. They kind of went pretty hard on the technical machine stuff, and only evolution and de-evolution really get played. I guess like Turbo Energize gets played in Iron Thorns, like Quad Thorns specifically. But even then, Iron Thorns is just getting played in Dragapult right now, and you're just playing that with Crispin. So I don't know. I'm excited for the new set, and we get a lot of these new cool arts too, which I think is pretty cool. So we'll just kind of flick through some of the Pokemon ones real fast. These are some of the unique arts we're going to get. I think a lot of them look really cool. So I'm just going to kind of just breeze through them here. I like the Flareon a lot. I think the Ruhl one looks awesome. I'm not a big fan of like the stained glass ones for the Ogerpons though. I think Vaporeon looks very pretty. I think the Glaceon one looks cool as well. Palafin looks absolutely awesome in this. As somebody who really likes kind of just Palafin as a Pokemon, I think this is really cool. Like I said, not a big fan of the stained glass stuff. Jolteon looks awesome. The Iron Hands, actually not a fan. I think the Iron Hands kind of looks a little ridiculous. I don't know why he's like jumping or floating. But either way, Espeon looks really cool. Sylveon looks absolutely awesome. Very cute in this one as well. The Iron Valiant looks super cool. Looks very just menacing. Got the Iron Crown, looks pretty neat. Got the Sandy Shocks EX, I think looks really cool as well. Still not a big fan of it, unfortunately. The Umbreon one, actually, I think this one's okay. I actually don't even think it looks that great. Everybody blew up about it. I think the old Moonbreon is way better, but it still looks pretty cool. The Roaring Moon EX, I absolutely hate this art. I think this art looks ridiculous. I don't know why his hands are so big, but Roaring, I'm also just like a simplistic person when it comes to Roaring Moon. I think the OG, like very first version of the card that came out for Roaring Moon EX looks the best. Petron, I think it's cute, kind of like the chibi art going on. The Goldengo one looks really fun, like surfing through like big city. Pretty cool. The Dragapult one looks pretty neat as well. I love the Raging Bolt one. I think this Raging Bolt one looks absolutely awesome. Looks like something out of a comic book. The Eevee one looks very cute, and then we got Blood Moon Ursaluna EX. I actually think this one looks pretty cool too. Still not my favorite though. And then Terapagos, it's really hard to even tell what the where Terapagos is. It's right here, but it's like it's really hard to see it. It kind of just looks like the card is just the big gems, which is kind of a thing. But the trainer cards look pretty cool. Everyone's just kind of chilling, relaxing on a couch on a lot of these, which I thought was pretty neat. I've never been a big fan of gold cards, unfortunately. Kind of going through, we got some more Battle Partners stuff we'll take a look at real quick. Got Lycanroc here, which I actually really love this art. I think this art looks phenomenal. It's got an ability, Entangling Spikes. When you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, attach up to 2 Spike energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon. You got Grabbing Fangs 40+. This attack does 40 damage for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. So kind of cool being able to kind of just finish off with a single prizer. But let's read what that Spike energy card does. Provides 1 colorless. If the Pokemon this card is attached to is in the active spot and is damaged by an attack, even if it's knocked out, put 2 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. So pretty neat, kind of like what this comment says. Reminds me of the Horror Psychic Energy or Dangerous Energy, which is kind of interesting, but still pretty cool. And then we have some of the other cards that I wanted to go over before we end the video here. Was a lot of the newer cards that are kind of like Iono's Electrobe and Kilowattrel and stuff. But the ones I really wanted to go over were like the Zacian V. I think that one's really cool, and I think some of the other stuff that's going on in this is going to be pretty fun. So we got Dubwool here. When this Pokemon is played from your hand, you switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon into the active spot. So it works very similar to like Boss's Order, which is kind of cool. And then you have this card, which says Close Cleave, 30 damage. This attack does 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, and then 240 during your strength Pokemon can't use Brave Slash. So very similar to like Zacian's Brave Blade, just 1 extra energy, because Brave Blade was I think 3 for 230. This one's 4 for 240, which does help out a lot because a lot of Pokemon have 230, 240 in the format, especially like Raging Bolt has 240. So that's kind of huge. But I really think these cards will get played to some degree. I think some of these cards coming out are really fun, and I think they're very unique. Like I said, I'm pretty excited to see what they got going on for a lot of that stuff. But that's a lot of like the newer stuff that I really wanted to go over. I didn't want to go too far back. I just wanted to look at some of the newer sets, the Battle Partner stuff, some of that. And I wanted to look at the Prismatic Evolution stuff as well. But if you guys are enjoying the content I've been making stuff on the channel, don't forget to leave a like, smash the subscribe button. I would appreciate it. and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace!